going from drummer to vocalist and songwriter. Styx drummer Todd Sucherman is with us on the Music Universe podcast.
I need some sleep and something to eat. I guess it's the vending machine. No place to think.
Are you a Styx fan, Matt?
Oh, yes, Grand Illusion. Every magician rips off Grand Illusion. Okay? I don't know. Well, luckily, magicians only do this when they're playing ASCAP and BMI rooms, so they're fine. But I want to say that every magician has one big illusion, usually their opener, because welcome to the Grand Illusion. I can't sing. So it's usually their opener, but that's where I come from, magic and ventriloquism. I had to hear that song so many times. Magicians, if you're listening to this, get original. Stop using Styx's song. But of course, I am a fan of Styx. Anybody who's not a fan of Styx is just wrong and needs to leave Earth. So
I agree.
That's where we are. But this drummer sounds like he's so much more than his work with Styx.
Oh, absolutely. And, I follow him as a drummer myself on social media, and I've got his instructional DVDs and stuff. So it was really an honor, and I love being able to chat with some of my
Were you
heroes
nervous?
too. Like all of them, yes. But once we got going, you start to kind of get in the role of it, and you kind of, you get comfortable and everything's well. And then, you also tend to come up with questions beforehand and hope you're able to ask those. And I was able to ask every question I had. We chatted for a good 25-30 minutes. He's been with Styx since March of 1995, and he's just now releasing his debut solo album called Last Flight Home. Came out on May 2nd, and the song at the beginning of this episode is the title track from that record. Todd Sucherman, thank you for joining me at the Music Universe podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad. What have you been doing to stay busy during the quarantine?
Well, that's a really good question. I've been helping homeschooling my daughter. I've been hoarding food and supplies. No, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, I mean, this record is really sort of the thing that thankfully has been taking a lot of my time, because when this situation hit us, the record was done. It was manufactured. It was sitting in boxes in my house, and then COVID-19 hit, and I thought, well, I can't release a record during a global pandemic and a crisis where people don't know how they're going to keep the lights on. And as a few weeks went by, I had different, musical pals of mine say, hey, your record's done. You should release it because people need entertainment. People have the time to sit and listen, sort of like never before, or certainly the 60s or 70s when you would, pull out the record, put on the headphones and sit there with the record in your lap the whole time. And my wife started to come around on that idea because she was with me originally. We can't release this. I don't go on Facebook and, start working a record when when this is going on.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I read someone said, if you have new music, release it now because someone's here now that might not be able to hear it later. So sort of conflicted, I posed that question on all my socials, saying, hey, I have this record, it's done. Should I wait for brighter days, or are you interested in new music at this time? Should I go full steam ahead? And the response was an overwhelming 99.9, go full steam ahead, please release it. So I actually moved up the release date without a plan, without infrastructure. So that has kept me very busy over the last couple of weeks.
Wow, yeah, and I'm glad you released it too, because I know so many have been delaying their projects, and for that very reason, and we definitely need music.
Well, thank you, and it really was beautiful and gratifying to read the responses of those who were encouraging me to do just that, and the first batches of pre-sale before the release date have gone out, and the response I've gotten on the music has just been overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And it is available on May 2nd, which is your 52nd birthday. So happy birthday.
50, 51. Let's not
51.
push it. Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry about that. So I'm always fascinated how the projects are put together. What inspires you to release a solo album, and how long has this been in the works?
Well, and my old friend J.K. Harrison, his guy I worked with in the old days, had been cajoling me to do a record, and I always blew him off. Sort of yeah, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. But he was really the one that believed that I could do it when I didn't believe that I could do it. So he kind of dragged me kicking and screaming, and we got together a couple times, and during that first batch of times we were together, we wrote the song "Last Flight Home" in like 30 minutes. So it was just one of those magical nights where it was lightning going back and forth, and you wish that it was always that easy, to
Right.
write. Um, and the song was done in 30 minutes, and that was really when I started to see the Yellow Brick Road, materialize in front of us, and going, okay, we have something here. This is definitely a centerpiece song, and that sort of, because of that night, everything sort of organically and naturally unfolded, and all I had to do was just sort of get out of my own way and let this happen. I mean, the reality is, I had always assumed that if I ever did a record that had my name on it, that it'd be some sort of jazz fusion record that was, drum centric. And I would imagine that uh, anyone who follows my work would maybe imagine that to be true as well.
Right.
But this just came about, and the reality is, I've always been drawn to songs, melodies, the story, and the lyrics. And I've always wished that I could do that the way a boy dreams of being an astronaut or a major league ball player. So to have this kind of come into fruition was it was pretty magical, for me, experience wise, and a great learning experience as a musician. I mean, I've been a musician for 40, coming up on 49 years,
Wow.
and professional since I was 6. But this was a whole new universe to learn to navigate. So, singing is a very difficult task. Being able to sing in time, sing in tune, connect with each line of the lyrics, connect all the lyrics together into a story, and then have the overall vibe be the story. That's exponentially difficult. Uh, it's crazy hard to do. So to learn to do that, and to work with a producer that was able to help me along the way, um, an incredible learning experience.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a drummer myself, so I was actually expecting what everyone else would be expecting as far as drum centric. But I'm very pleased with what I've heard. It's kind of I think 70s, 80s kind of pop infused, record. And what's it like to come from behind the drums, which obviously you play on this, but now coming to co-write and sing? What's it like to actually transition to frontman for this and primary songwriter compared to just being behind the kit?
Is largely terrifying notion, but the fact that I was scared and uneasy, and I felt I was in a small rickety boat with some very choppy waves. That kind of made me feel maybe this is where I need to be. If I played it safe and just did stuff that I knew that I could do, maybe that's, you know why would I want to do that? So it, you know, I'm sure that itch will need to be scratched, or I'll need to play some instrumental music, and maybe that will be the next one. But the reality is, I just played on the Antoine Fafard record, Bormian Odyssey, and the San Nico record, Ascension. Very difficult instrumental music. So that itch had been scratched for the time being, and I think that's what helped um, make this uh, choice that just happened sort of more natural, and an easier choice to make. I just sort of went with the flow, and like I said, I just had to get out of my own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have plans to tour in support of the project when you're able to?
Oh no.
No.
I mean, look, all we have is the present moment, and so I'm just trying to enjoy this experience of having um, finished and releasing this project. But this was very much a grand experiment to see if I could pull off something that I wasn't sure that I could pull off. So really the goal is, if people enjoy this music, that's great. And that makes me feel very, very happy. And that's the full circle. I have no intentions of trying to be a singing celebrity. Um, or I'm going to, leave my post in the band or anything insane like that.
Right.
This was just a fun little side project that came along at a great time, and thankfully it's keeping me busy. While we're all safe at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do follow your socials. I love the Pearl Masterworks kit you've got. Can
Ah.
you talk about the kit a little bit and what maybe your favorite additions are to it?
Well, both the current Styx A rig and my current main studio kit, it's the same shell configuration. It's the Pearl Masterworks studio recipe, which is a maple and gum combination, and they're just beautiful, beautiful drums that you can, if you want to put white coated heads on them, they can sound, vintagey, or you put clear ambassadors on there, and they're big, open, and modern. But they're just beautiful, beautiful drums. And obviously at home, I have a selection of snare drums to choose from to try to fit the track. That's something I always try to do is match the personality or the sound that I'm going for with the correct snare drum choice. But yeah, and I'm very fortunate. I've I'm a obvious gearhead, so I'm I could talk for hours and hours about that stuff.
Yeah, that's quite a snare drum collection too. I love seeing that wall on there. I'm like, man, maybe someday that I could have that. That's awesome.
It's a sickness.
I bet. What is your go-to drum fill whenever you sit down at the kit?
Go to drum fill, boy. I have no idea. Normally I just sit down and whatever I feel like doing, that will come out, unless I'm trying to work on a specific idea. Um, but I don't have one go-to fill.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I think of rudiments as, building blocks, um, or letters that would create a word that would create a sentence. But yeah, okay, I'll give you one. The blues de gablage, flam drags like the Tony Williams,
Hmm.
um, Swiss Army triplets with the drag in the middle. It's one of my faves.
Nice. So that brings me to my next question of how many hours a day do you typically sit behind the kit?
Well, that's the funny thing, is you kind of get older and you get responsibilities and you have a wife and you have children. The amount of free time you get to do that thins dramatically. So what I've been trying to do um, is at least spending a half hour a day out there, if not 90 minutes,
Hmm.
because I want to remain sharp and in shape for when this is over and when it's time to go back on the road. I mean, I don't want to have the experience of, however long this takes, I don't want it to seem like I've aged 10 years, uh, you know, when I play the first show.
Right.
So I have to remain in shape, sharp, keep my mind working on some new ideas. And the one thing that I know I'm going to get to after this record is released is I need to learn how to work Pro Tools and how to work my studio, of which I do not have the first clue. I've always I've always employed an engineer so he can concentrate on the sounds and what he has to do, and I can concentrate on the music. And for me, it's like I know every time we power up the studio. There's new downloads and new updates, every time. And then wait, this didn't work. This isn't talking to this, or now because we downloaded this, this thing doesn't work. That is not my strong suit. I I'm not a great troubleshooter, and I didn't learn how to. I didn't dedicate my life to drums to figure out electronics and have my nose stuck in manuals and calling engineer friends who know more than I all the time for advice. But that's going to have to happen, because if you offered me $1 million to go to my studio and record one single snare drum hit, I couldn't do it right now.
Wow. Yeah, you sound like me where I just want to sit down and play and I don't want to deal with the technical side.
Yeah, I don't. I have no interest in that. Other than that, I wish I did, and I wish I could. But that is something that I'm going to have to do. So that will be that will be how I spent my summer.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, because definitely need to do something else to stay busy, but so I obviously we know that touring and everything's on pause. Um with Styx and stuff, are you guys even possibly planning to record and tour again, I guess, after all this is set, maybe 2021?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had dates every month. March, April, May, June, July. Through December, we have dates every month that we'll need to find um, a new landing spot eventually somewhere. And had this situation not hit, my drum tracks on the new Styx record would have been recorded in Nashville 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So there's another record that will be happening eventually when we're able to do that and complete it. So there's no timeline for the record even before this hit.
Sure.
It's done. It's done when it's done. There's no deadline, no timeline. So that will remain that way, just a little further out.
Yeah, and are you guys a band that you like to be all in the studio together, or do you just kind of track it and off some like scratch tracks?
Yeah, no, we would all do things individually, predicated from uh, some of the demos that exist. It's too difficult. We all live in different cities, and it's easier to do it that way.
Right, yeah. And now your album bio mentions 70s rock influences. I think a lot of us have those. Can you tell us more about who they are and maybe some newer artists that you enjoy, maybe you're inspired by as well?
Yeah, well, regarding Last Flight Home, when I'm asked what's the music like, when I'm hard pressed for that, I would say it's sophisticated pop rock. If you like bands like Elbow, Crowded House, XTC, Jellyfish, you might like this record. Um, those are some of the influences that I hear in this record, along with some maybe mid to late '70s Genesis, a little bit of Brian Wilson. There's a piano part on one song that reminds me of The Cure. um,
Nice.
so in within that record, there's a lot of different different flavors. Um, but one of the greatest hands I was dealt in life was growing up the youngest in a musical family, uh, where there could be Count Basie blasting out of one bedroom and Led Zeppelin blasting out of another bedroom. And any given day, it could be Mozart or Chicago or Kiss or um, Parliament Funkadelic. Music was music. It wasn't all these different kinds and genres. It was just there were different kinds of music, obviously, but to grow up in a household with uh, such varied choices, that helped sculpt my choices as I grew up. So, when you're talking about bands from the 70s and 80s, or my experience, we can go from the Beatles to the Who, um, Beach Boys, uh, Genesis, Journey was a big one for me. I grew up in Chicago, so Styx was on the radio all the time. Styx, that first Boston record. That's actually kind of the fun thing of being in Styx. So many of the bands that we've toured with or done shows with, it's been the radio of my youth. Bad Company, Heart, Peter Frampton, um, Billy Squire, Kansas, Pat Benatar. You know what I mean? I can go on and on
Oh
and on
yeah.
and on. And it just tickles me to think, like, here's, my mom driving me to Little League practice, and all the songs that I heard, and it's that scenario that I would be either touring with or doing shows with. It just really, really tickles me.
And it's got to be so surreal too, because it's probably something you've always dreamed about, and then here you are doing it.
Yes, it's the radio of my youth. And yeah, it's funny that I find myself in situations where, whether I'm sitting in an airport or sitting out going out somewhere, that it's hard for me to hear music on the radio that I can't connect myself to. Like, oh, I worked with an engineer who mixed this track, or um, or I met this guy backstage. He was at a show. Like, hey, Mickey Dolenz is backstage. I met one of the monkeys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can kind of personally connect myself in some way from some experience, uh, and that's a fun game that I kind of think about sometimes when my mind wanders.
Well, that is pretty awesome to be able to do that, and I'm digging the music. I have methods and mechanics. I want to ask: is there a
Oh man.
possibility of a part three?
Well, it's funny that you ask that. Really, the part three is, if you're familiar with the rock drumming masterclass that I did last year for Drumeo, that really is methods and mechanics 3 through 10.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
that was, Drumeo is sort of, one of the, I don't know, like a Coca-Cola of online drumming uh, schools.
Yes.
And they, gosh, it was the summer of 2018. Jared called me and he wanted me to do a 26-week course where all the lessons were like 20 to 30 minutes. So we're talking about 15 hours here,
Wow.
of a rock drumming masterclass. And I didn't want to do it at first because I know how I work, that this was going to consume me for a couple months.
Hmm.
But I had to do it, um, because I thought this was an important thing. To me, it's an important to share the knowledge that you have. We stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, and I thought this is a chance for me to kind of do methods and mechanics slowed down, beginning with more basics and building naturally through, from point A to point B to point C, all the way through. So yeah, I basically spent that summer tour writing this curriculum for months, and it would be, like, knock knock knock, half hour to show time, and be like, close my computer, I have to play the show, and then get back to my work
Yeah.
after the show.
Work. Yeah.
That's kind of how that summer tour was for me. But it was I'm so glad that I did it that way. Um, because it's something I'm fiercely proud of, and it's between methods and mechanics and in this Drumeo rock drumming masterclass. It's my biggest love letter to drummers who have always been my favorite people, and it really is a tremendous. It's like a college course, really. It's designed to keep you busy and working and inspired and growing for 6 months straight. And because of the pandemic, Drumeo just released the course. They dropped the price from $300 to $97
Wow.
as a standalone, purchase, that you get it all Netflix binge style at once, as opposed to getting a new lesson every Monday. So that's available for drummers worldwide now. You just go to drumeo.com, look for uh, Todd Sucherman Rock Drumming Masterclass, and you can make that purchase, and you have lifetime access to that. 15 hours, 15 songs, all the charts, all the PDFs. Each lesson comes with assignments for beginners, intermediate, and advanced players. And the technology is really incredible. You have speed control over every second, so you could slow me way down. You could speed up to get through my yakking. The technology on it is really, really incredible.
Now that's fantastic because you can't really do that with the DVDs of methods and mechanics. So with being able to do this, it really helps
Yeah, I
people
mean, you
to learn
you
it.
you have the speed control in the bottom right corner of the screen. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because, like I said, I have the first two, and they're just. I've been playing all my life too, and I just feel like I get hung up on doing the same fills or the same beats, and it's like I need something to inspire me. So checking these
Uh,
out will definitely help.
Buddy, go check it out, man, because it really is something. And the correspondence I received from the people that took, because it was originally a course where the students had direct contact to me as a coach. That's how this was originally designed.
Yeah.
So, week to week, I was corresponding via email with thousands of drummers from over 60 countries. So it was a beautiful thing to take part of, and to watch and see and hear these people grow from the experience. And when it ended, the outpouring of 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 love I got from the students was just, I mean, I could tear up talking about it. It's just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And with technology these days, it must feel great to just be able, like you said, to connect with all these people that you would never be able to any other way.
Yeah, someone would ask me a question, from Thailand, and I would, send a picture of my hand, close up of my hand with the grip, and talk about, you know, keep the stick towards the first joint, not the middle joint, and boom, and email that off to a guy in Thailand.
That is
Yeah,
fantastic.
incredible.
Awesome. Well, Todd, I do appreciate you joining me. Last Flight Home available now by the time this airs, and I do appreciate it, and looking forward to more drumming lessons from you as you post videos on social media. I love the Styx ones. I just love seeing the performances too, and appreciate you joining me.
Well, man, buddy, I appreciate you having me. Stay safe and keep doing it, man.
This was the first time I was actually offered to be able to sample music for this show. So I wanted to include a little sample of the title track "Last Flight Home" from Todd Sucherman.
Now, people, you hear Buddy talk about I'm a drummer too. I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer. A lot of people say they're drummers. Buddy, you're a fucking drummer. I mean, people, you need to go check out the music. Is it on the Music Universe Instagram or is it on your personal Instagram?
It's my personal, yeah.
You just shred on this electric set. Now, I can imagine, and you lined up the audio, you did all of it. I was stunned. I'd never seen you play before. Maybe once or twice, bang, bang, boom, but I'd never seen you do a lick like that before. And first of all, that must be really annoying to the dogs because it's not even music. You're hitting the electric drums, and so it just sounds like. But
No, actually, my little Pomeranian will lay right next to me anytime I play.
really.
Yeah, if I start going nuts with the feet and kind of rattles him, he'll get up a minute and move. But no, doesn't bother him unless I play the acoustic drums and they take off running like bats out of hell.
See, meanwhile, I have no talent other than interviewing people.
You do a good job of that, Matt. So everybody needs to go out and buy Todd Sucherman's brand new CD. It's called Last Flight Home. They can get it at toddsucherman.com. You can also pick up Methods and Mechanics Volume 1 and 2 there. And check out the Drumeo deal because that is a super killer deal. You won't be disappointed.
Well, that's it for us today on the Music Universe podcast. I'm Matt.
And Buddy, thanks for listening. And keep checking out themusicuniverse.com. And don't forget to subscribe wherever podcasts are heard.